Hello, everybody. It's weird that it's raining now, and it was like a week of just sun, and then all of a sudden it starts raining on the weekend. But anyways, so today it's week 8. It's about to start, and the week video blog for this week was about what role does telling histories of underrepresented communities have in social justice leadership, and what role has telling these histories played in my philosophy of social justice? Well, so starting off with the first one, or at least starting off with one of the articles, the Gizmodo article about how Oregon was a white made utopia, and I found that quite surprising because I knew that Oregon was very much against um, people of color living in their state, but I didn't know it was purely formed for the white people by the white people, and so and that majority of the Oregonians, they were opposed to slavery, but they didn't want of anybody who wasn't white living with them. So that was an interesting point that I saw in the article as well, and it struck me because I mean, if you're opposed to slavery, why can't you just have them living near you? And then also another thing that was said in the article was that racism is usually thought to have been existed in like the south of the U.S. and but once you look into the history, you actually see that it was everywhere and that it wasn't only in the south, but it also happened in Oregon and everything. And then it's just really recent, less than even 100 years ago, that before people of color were actually allowed in the state to live, and so that's like another reason why you can say that um, in Oregon at least there are less people of color. And so I think history is important because you have to inform the people about what had happened, and that hey, from this we can learn and we can try to change our ways. Maybe this past reasoning didn't work, and so we need to figure out another direction to go to so that our plan does work. Um, and then the other article about the gay person being killed in Wyoming, and OSU having like a candle vigil for Stop the Hate. And I think that was interesting because I didn't know back in the 90s that it was a strong social justice place. And so it was really promising to see that there is history in the university which shows that we are backed up with some history, and that the president at that time was also for this case. And now that you think about it, more than it's been nearly 20 to 25 years when the 90s were there. And so it's interesting to see how much we have progress from there, and that there is some kind of base for us. And so I think that it's made me understand social justice a little bit more because I know that it's not necessarily a new thing. But for me personally, it is a new thing, but it has existed in the world for quite a long period of time, and that people have been advocating for it, and they have been trying to go for equality or equity, and that it is a matter of concern, and that we slowly but surely we are working towards it, which is always great. But the rate that it's going at, it would be better if it was faster than what it is now. And so I think the history plays into a factor of, as I said earlier, that you have to know what had worked, what hadn't worked, and what you can do to make something work. And so learning that from history is very important, and especially in the fact of social justice, seeing like, for example, like a silent protest didn't work. Maybe you need to try doing something else, and maybe go towards the legislature and try to make a law, try to appeal to like a senator or a of of the state to push a law in Congress so that it can benefit your state. And so I think that is important to see, that just learning from history, and that um, if you don't know what has happened in history, then you can be trying making the same mistakes. And if you try making the same mistakes, you're not making any progress. And so if you make the same mistake but you've tried something else, that means that, okay, now you have two ways that don't work but have the same results. So that means you have made some kind of progress, and that now other people can look into that and into the history and be like, hey, maybe this didn't work. We need to try some other way. And so I think that's what history has, how history has affected my philosophy of social justice, and just learning from it, and trying to understand what is happening, or not what's happening, but what we can do to make it better. Thank you.